round 2, please make sure your cell phones, smartwatches, any other electronics are completely turned off and under your chair or in a bag. They cannot be in your pocket while you're playing. If after this round you do not like your results so far, you can re-enter into the 2-day schedule that will get you 6 fresh games. You need to do that at the desk or online by 9:30. Otherwise, your next round is at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, same round time as today. Okay, please remember to mark your result on the pairing sheet on your way out. Other than that, good luck. Please start your clocks. Middle button.
And now Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the North Carolina Open Round 2 for Moonzs. And it looks like we have a Queen's Gambit declined. So, honestly, I might have the move order wrong already, but this is the position. And, yeah, not sure what Moonzs was doing beforehand, but she's back at the board here. What's up, Jesty? What's up, Astevon? Hello, Ray Vega. Good to see you all. Thanks for tuning in here. Happy Friday. Happy Black Friday, specifically. And yeah, let's turn this eval bar on. Let's see. It's obviously pretty even so far. We have the bishop coming out to f4. And I believe Moonzs lost her first round earlier today, commentated by none other than Alex Asmoata. So, looks like we're trying to bounce back here and get some points getting on the board. Let me see if I can find I don't know, maybe some people know more about. Okay, I see her rating is 529 and her opponent is Abhirash Saha at 835. So maybe I can update this. Okay. And yeah, opponent connecting knights, knight B to D7. So Moonzs is still technically the underdog here with less rating. Let me update the ratings here. Let's see. Okay, and he's brought the queen out. She's brought out both her knights. Hold on, let's see. Is there a board on chess.com? No, just the one that I have right now. I'm manually making the moves. You can see the players are not using a DGT board. Unfortunately. But is this a London? I would say this is a Queen's Gambit declined, but she does have the London bishop out on f4. No need to be sorry. That's all good. Honestly, I don't know my openings too well, but it seems that she's playing d4 opening. 26 years. That's quite some time. Oh, she's hit the clock with the wrong hand. Okay. We might have to inform her. But yeah, you know, a lot of people, they have these holiday traditions like for Thanksgiving, there's people that will do these 5Ks, right? They'll run marathons or whatever. But okay, I definitely saw it there. Yeah. Okay, so Moonzs, she's kind of gambiting her B pawn here actually. So let's see. Opponent quickly trades there, and now she will definitely take back with her queen. And yeah, she's doing a two-hand move here. And now the B pawn will be potentially hanging, but also if black does take this B pawn, she will have a nice move, rook to B1. And there we go. We see him. This game might go fast, you guys. I'm not going to lie. This game might be a quick one because these players are playing fairly quickly. So that could be exciting. And now, moment of truth here. She has to save her rook. So rook b1, I think, is a great move. It just gets the material back. This b pawn will be hanging. Now, she could also castle here, actually. Castling is also just a-okay. Totally fine. But I think rook b1 is probably the most pressing move. So we'll see what she ends up doing here. What's the time control? That is a fantastic question. If I had to guess, I would guess it's 90 plus 30. A classical time control. So let me see. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, it's 100. It's 110. It's 100 minutes with 10-second increment. Okay, so she opts to castle. And now our opponent graciously reminds us to hit the clock. What's up, Connor? Happy Black Friday. 100 and we're playing at this pace. Well, okay, and there we have a strategic drink maneuver. And she checked the camera, so that helps us view all of the squares of the board. Now, we don't see the clock, unfortunately. Now, had I been more prepared, perhaps I could have set up my own clock and started it. And okay, so interestingly, castling allows for the queen to potentially retreat and try to hold on to the b pawn, but instead we see the opponent is perhaps a little behind in development, right? We've captured this pawn, moving the queen twice. And so now the opponent is trying to catch up in this regard, and this bishop can now develop, and black will then be ready to castle. But this allows for white to really take some initiative here and go after the queen. We can play rook A or F to B1, hitting the queen and gathering back the pawn material. Oh, and we have a slight camera adjustment here. And some smiles. All should be back and well in action. All right. So yeah, it's difficult having to compete already in a chess tournament, and we got a couple more giggles, not only just from her, but also it seems her neighboring competitors. Let me see if I can we've got, yeah, even opponent is losing it. Maybe. She's trying hard to compose herself here. All right. There's a chess game happening as well. So a nice moment there. Somebody bumping into the camera, and yes, our opponent, I'm not sure the age, but things are funny. Things are funny. Anyways. Might be hard to concentrate. This kid's really cute. So, why are they laughing? Someone bumped into the camera earlier. Anyways, we've got a couple of moves. So, interestingly, Moonzs ignores the queen. She could have kept the tempo. Essentially, rook b1 is going to be an important maneuver at some point because she is currently down a pawn. She's gambited a pawn, more or less. And here we see the opponent immediately developing this dark square bishop that they opened up for, with a clear direct threat of taking the knight on c3. So now rook b1 is unfortunately too late at this moment because black has a threat against the knight. So now the knight needs to either be defended or it needs to be moved, which allows us perhaps knight a4, hitting the queen. But now the queen can go to a3 and retreat with defense of the bishop, looking for a queen trade. And white will no longer be getting this tempo along the b file. Yeah, and also just to point out, as Nart Chess is saying, this bishop not only attacking the knight, but also pinning it to the rook that we've placed on e1. Rook fe1, this is normally a really solid development move, right? Putting the rook onto the e file, one of the center files of the board. Also still opposite the king that hasn't castled yet. Potentially trying to open lines up with e4. So unfortunately, a really principled, solid move like rook e1 is being punished currently, given the tactical state of the board. This bishop pinning the knight to that rook. So whenever our opponent makes a move, we have to adjust. Usually our game plan, putting rooks on the center, might not be the best if our opponent has a strong threat here. And so when they push this pawn, they're opening up for their bishop to develop, and here it develops to a very strong square, putting direct pressure onto this knight. So rook e to c1 might be a very strong move, and then black is able to actually force a queen trade at that stage, because if we take with the rook, our rook on a1 will be hanging. So knight a4, this temporarily leaves the rook hanging but hits the queen. This also might force a queen trade, as queen a3 not only hits that knight and the queen, but also keeps pressure on the rook. So after knight a4, queen to a3, she might have to trade. Okay, so here she's dropping a piece, actually, unfortunately. She might be dropping more than a piece. She's played rook e to b1. And yes, our opponent quickly realizes that the knight was left hanging. And now here, she should not trade queens, because if she does, black will simply recapture with their bishop, and then her rook in the corner will also be trapped. So rook b1, this is, again, one of these moves that normally is really good, but just tactically doesn't work out because of how black has their pieces in the position. We tactically have dropped a piece. So now she's in a rough spot, because if she declines the queen trade, which she should, she's also potentially losing the c-pawn. So queen needs to come back. I think queen back to d1 or even to f1. Maybe d1 is best. And then we might actually have a trap. So the game's not over by a long shot. Queen d1. And if black captures this pawn, maybe we have rook c1. Yeah, unfortunately the pawn covers this. I was hoping we could play a move like rook to b3. So maybe it's possible black doesn't take on c4. So let's see. She has brought her queen back. She does decline the trade. And when you're down material, you typically don't want to keep trading material. So keeping queens on the board, this is a step in the right direction here. But obviously we don't want to start the game so low in material here. And yeah, there's an opportunity for black to mess up. Black really should take on c4, I think. Rook b3, this is kind of a gnarly move. So that's a very strong threat, and the opponent potentially could miss it if they just castle, for example. Rook b3. Oh, there's queen takes c4. Whoops. I forgot about that, to be honest. So, yeah, that's something about letting these queens develop early and taking our pawn, is that we have to be sure that we're making our opponent pay for bringing the queen out so early and taking our material, our pawn. So black does have a way out. Rook b3 is not as strong as I had hoped. So let's see. Opponent also is just simply going to take the pawn and taking with the queen, actually. Okay. So, yeah, that queen gets out of there alive with a piece and 2 pawns to show for it. So, yes, kind of a rough start here. Thanks, Narchess. I appreciate your compliments. And yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you haven't followed Moonzs, be sure to go and do that. I was playing Bug House with Moonzs after our lesson with Jesse the other day. Moonzs is a big Bug House fan, it seems, as it turns out. Moonzs also has met Jesse, I believe, at TwitchCon. So it's really cool to see Moonzs is traveling and hanging out with the chess streamers in real life. So there's a couple other streamers streaming this event, actually. There's Jay Dizzy, and there are the Chess Sharks, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe even Dina Balankaya herself. Narchess, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Uncle Jesse, she can attest that Moonzs is great in real life. She's got the evidence, the proof. I haven't had the fortune of meeting Moonzs in person yet. I missed out on TwitchCon, honestly. I went to TwitchCon EU, which has its own lovely community of chess streamers. But I couldn't do both, unfortunately. What was I thinking? I don't know. Take care, Narchess. See you next time. I will be commentating again for Moonzs tomorrow at the same time. So this tournament, it's at least 6 rounds, I believe. 2 rounds today, 2 rounds tomorrow, and 2 rounds on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of chess to be had. And chess, it can be rough. You could be losing to young children. It can be humbling. But at the end of the day, it's a fun experience. If you don't mind, if you don't like losing, then chess might not be the best game for you. Because like I said, you will lose. And sometimes that means losing to children. So that is just the truth about chess that I think you have to accept. Now, apparently they do these adult-only tournaments if you want to avoid playing against the kids. But I think it's a good character building experience. So it's sort of like a rite of passage, truly. Like, are you really a chess player if you haven't lost to an 8-year-old? I don't know. It's perhaps up for debate. But that being said, even if Moonzs does end up losing, which is very possible given the start of this game. The thing that matters more than winning, I think, for me personally, is learning and improving and ultimately having fun. So you guys might think, oh my God, classical chess, losing to a child on stream, count me out. No, thank you. But I will tell you that this was entirely Moonz's idea when she signed up for this. You know, some families on Thanksgiving, they purposely sign themselves up for like a marathon or a 5K or whatever. And other people, they think that's torture. They're like, why would you do that? I couldn't believe that people willingly wake up early to go run outside in the cold weather. And that's sort of what the NC Open is right now. This chess tournament happening on this holiday weekend here in the US, right after Thanksgiving. We've got people signing up for chess tournaments to compete and put their elo on the line. Moonzs has played a3. She's attacking this bishop, and she very likely will be getting at least the b pawn back. But black might put themselves into what I'd like to call a pickle. It's possible that the opponent will play bishop to c3. And this is a somewhat forcing move, actually. Bishop to c3 packs a punch against the rook in the corner on a1. And if this move happens, notice we cannot play rook a2. And this is exactly what the opponent has played, by the way. Bishop c3 is on the board. Now, if we try to save the rook by moving it, well, the queen covers a2 as well. So this is actually a big moment, a test for Moonzs to see if she is able to find the best move, rook c1, which pins the bishop to the queen. So rook c1 is pretty much forced here if Moonzs is to not lose further material. Now, other than rook c1, she could also try to find a stronger threat against the queen, like moving the knight to d2 is one example. Maybe even moving the knight to e5 is another example. But she could also sacrifice the exchange, the rook in the corner, by grabbing a pawn and then recapturing on a1 after black assumingly takes the rook. So there are obvious solutions here. There are alternatives. Rook c1 is the most direct, straightforward way to save the rook, but also Moonzs can find stronger threats. She can also give up the exchange to take the pawn, which sometimes is worth it. Getting a rook on the 7th can be very annoying, especially if, like, let's say the king is defending this knight and doesn't want to castle, but here black does have the knight on f6, which is defending the knight. So we'll see what Moonzs comes up with here. Rook c1 is her best shot, pinning the bishop. And if she pins the bishop, there's a world where she could potentially get the bishop back. Now, it's not quite so obvious where we could attack the bishop again, but rook c1 followed with a move like knight to d2. Hitting the queen is quite interesting. The queen would have to find a new square that also defends the bishop, and it looks to me like there would really only be one move, which is queen to d3. Now, that actually would be a very strong move because not only does it get out of the pin, but it also creates a counterattack on her knight on d2. So just to show you all, the line that I'm talking about specifically is rook pinning the bishop, and now let's say black just does something like castling, and now we play knight to d2. There's this move queen to d3, and this renews the threat on the rook as well as creates a new threat against the knight. And so the best move here, I imagine, is rook to a2, just defending the knight and saving the rook. Okay, so yeah, she's found this move, rook c1. So she's creating a problem for black to deal with. This bishop that is attacking the rook can no longer take the rook because it's pinned. And okay, we have this move now, knight to e4 from black. So knight e4 just directly adds protection over the bishop. So the queen is not the sole defender. And yeah, our opponent is playing well. Our opponent is playing quickly as well, and confidently, it seems. And rightfully so, they are up a decent amount of material, and they also do have the rating advantage. So honestly, kind of par for the course if you think that the rating advantage is a clear indicator of who's the favorite. Typically, that's what the ratings are there for, to indicate the strength of the player. That being said, of course, a lot of times there can still be upsets, or maybe players' ratings aren't as accurate. But right now, the opponent is definitely showing that they are the favorites here. Definitely a couple hundred elo. Technically 300 elo. This would be like a 1700 versus a 2000. Although you could argue that lower ratings maybe are a bit more variable, right? And like especially the higher rating you go, the bigger of a difference. Like, for example, this game is a 500 versus an 800. But if you were to say like a 2700 versus a 2400, it's the same difference, but I think the 2700 would win a far more expected outcome than, let's say, an 800 versus a 500. So, anyways, at the end of the day, I don't really think the rating matters or means too much. But I'm just trying to portray that our opponent is a strong opponent, despite their age. They're very young, for sure. But sometimes the young ones are the ones that you gotta watch out for. They're the scariest of all the chess players. Yeah, kids also, they're on the up. So kids are constantly improving and learning. They're like a sponge, just absorbing all this new information. And they're probably hooked on Gotham chess videos. So shout out to Gotham, one of the chess community's largest chess content creators, commentators, and educators, and entertainers. So maybe Moonzs comes up with a Gotham-like move here and sacrifices her rook, although that is unlikely. She did play the best move, rook c1, pinning the bishop to the queen. So opponent just plays knight e4, and we're back on the clock. So let's see what Moonzs comes up with here. I'm thinking rook a b1 is a decent move. Rook a b1, just putting a rook on the semi-open b file, targeting a weakness in black's position, the b pawn, the base of this pawn chain. It's one of the few pieces in black's camp that is currently undefended. And with this last knight move, we were mentioning how this knight was defended by the knight on f6, but now there is no knight on f6. So if Moonzs could get her rook to the 7th, this could be annoying enough for black to delay their castling. And as long as the king is still in the middle of the board, there are potential problems. And also, mind you, there's a world where we could take this, and now that the king is the only defender, there's a world where we could sack the rook, take, and now Moonzs could get a fork actually, on the king and the queen with knight to e5. That would be a beautiful counterattack for Moonzs. Now, the problem is, after rook a to b1, there's a lot of things that black can do to prevent rook takes on b7. For example, just pushing the pawn is one. Another one is bringing the queen back, perhaps to a6. Also, black could just castle and allow the rook to capture and then save the knight. And knight e5 would still be potentially a problem for black, as it would attack this queen, which might be needed to defend the bishop. Because after knight to e5, maybe we have this f3 idea. So kicking away the knight, which is also defending the bishop. There's a lot of ways in which white can regain a piece and get right back into this game. It all depends really on what they end up doing. So black is in a very commanding position currently, up a piece and a couple of pawns, but sometimes, especially with these kids, we can lure them into a false sense of security and potentially even bore them by such a winning position that they become careless and slip and make a mistake, especially in the end game. They say the best way to beat someone in chess that is very young is to take them to an end game. I don't really know how true that is, but people have come up with it for some reason. There's got to be some thought process behind it. What happened in round one? I believe she lost. It was commentated by Asmoata, but I'm not sure if there is a VOD saved anywhere. But last I saw, I actually think she played the opponent next to her current opponent. On board 135, you can see the board numbers. So let me see. That might be Vasilisa, a 921 rated opponent. So yeah, they won. And yeah, Moonzs' current opponent also is at 0 points for the start of this tournament. But yeah, I tuned in for a little bit this morning to watch, and I think she similarly hung a piece, hung a knight. So yeah, opponent made an attack, and then Moonzs must have missed it. But the opponent, it was possible that they could have brought a much stronger attack going in, and they missed their opportunity and went back, and then Moonzs had a chance to keep the game a bit closer. All right, and here we go. Rook A to B1. Definitely one of the top moves. Attacking the B pawn, and so now every move that black has is an opportunity to make a mistake. That's how I view every chess move. Whenever it's my turn, I'm like, oh boy, I can't wait to make a mistake here. Let's see what my options are. So let's look at all the ways that that black could mess up. No, I mean, Rook's, her last two moves have been very solid. Rook C1 was the best move in the position. Now Rook AB1, also a very solid move here. So yeah, I'm like thinking, what if black just connects their knights? And now they castle, we could play knight to E5, hitting the queen, and then we can play F3, hitting the knight, and then who knows? Truly. Anything goes at that point. It's like a whole brand new game. Honestly, in one single chess game, there's like multiple games going on within one game. There's all these micro battles, if you will, on the board. I've played games where it's like you get that extra time added after 40 moves, and it's like every move I felt like I'm just trying to fight for like a single pawn or like a tactic or something, and the opponent is just answering everything I see they see, you know. Every question I pose, they have an answer to it. And then we finally hit that 40 move mark. We're like scrambling, very low on time. We get that extra time added back. We can both breathe a sigh of relief. The pressure has been basically dissipated. I've definitely felt like I've missed an opportunity or something. Like, man, where was my tactic? Where was my win? Like, my position felt so strong and so good, but they defended everything. And then after like 5 minutes of us taking a break, you know, we come back and my opponent finally just blunders. And it's like, oh man, there's my big break. There's my opportunity. And so it's like even within one game, you can have multiple battles. And even once you break through with a tactic, there's still resistance that can be put up, and you can't let up. You have to be still precise in that moment and convert. So anyways, rook AB1, we're attacking the B pawn, getting out of the corner. But our opponent has answered with queen to A6. This is a very responsible move here, bringing the queen back, defending that B pawn. Now, there are still some tricky ways here that white can pose some problems. And my first thought here is queen to B3. And queen B3, developing our last piece, the queen off the back rank. This again poses a threat against the B pawn, but also we're threatening to take the bishop and the knight for the value of one rook, which would be a win for white. Now, she is already down a piece, but the good news is if she gets 2 pieces for one rook, then she will only be down in exchange, which is much better than being down a whole piece. So we'll see if Moonzs can follow up. She's played some really good rook moves to put them on both semi-open files on B and C file. Now let's see if she can follow up with queen to B3. Queen B3, I think, is very findable, especially if you consider that black is attacking our A pawn, potentially. Now, to be fair, if black does take the A pawn, we do have the B pawn that we could take with some extra activity as a bonus. But queen B3 here, I think, is a really good move here for Moonzs. We'll see if she finds it and goes for it. Just trying to get some of that material back, right? We want to give up one of our rooks if we can get 2 minor pieces in return. That could help bring things back. And another thing to note, I had already mentioned that when we play against kids, it's recommended to try to take them to an endgame. there's many ways where people are completely losing, and it looks like there's just this huge insurmountable advantage. But especially at lower ratings, you never know when the game could take a turn. It's very possible. Players are prone to making blunders, and the end game especially, it requires a certain level of knowledge and expertise. So it's never worth it to just simply give up and stop trying. You never know what your opponent knows or what they can see. So if we just try our best and try to find the best move and keep doing that every single move, we can claw our way back. We can fight. We can put up a lot of resistance and really wear down our opponent, especially if they're, maybe a bit younger. Maybe it's harder for them to pay attention for super long times. Asmoata looks different. Yeah, well, Asmoata, maybe you could help me. You were mentioning dyeing my hair blonde. So I don't know if that would help me make me look more like you, or maybe I would look more like Moonzs. But I don't know how to change Moonzs' stream title. So if you know how to do that or could help me do that, then that'd be great. Well, I know share chat. I tried to share the chat because I sent the request beforehand, but unfortunately, Moonzs can only do so many things at the same time. She's currently occupied at the chessboard right now. I'm using my restream, but I'm sure if you have her restream, you could still change the title. If you're on her restream, you could do it. Okay, so Moonzs has played knight back to e1, and perhaps she's looking to reroute the knight. This also allows for black potentially to trade. She wants f3. That's actually a really logical idea. Okay, Santos saying take care all. Oh, Santos also said rook b3 should be played. Yeah, I was looking at queen b3. Rook b3 also does a very similar idea. So yeah, knight back, f3 would definitely be a strong move. Now, unfortunately, we're giving the target of the knight to the bishop. But if the knight doesn't get taken and we can play knight d3, then f3 does become a very powerful move. Because f3 looks to dislodge the defender of the bishop. So the bishop is currently hit by the rook, but it's also defended by the knight. And yeah, thank you very much to Asmoata. Shout out to Asmo, one of the previous commentators for Moonzs. But Asmoata, perhaps needing no introduction, might be the most famous person in this chat. Maybe even in this stream. Maybe even in all of chess Twitch. Hard to say. Asmoata, she still has her whole future career ahead of her. There's really no end in sight. The ceiling isn't even there. She's got no limit to how far she could really go. So exciting to follow all of her potential and see her grow. And I believe she just passed 2100 rapid for the first time on chess.com, which is truly an incredible milestone. Especially when you consider that the last time I saw her in person, we were playing with queen odds. So I think at this rate, the next time I see Asmoata, she's going to be the one giving me queen odds because I'm gonna need it. She's gonna be crushing me down a queen. That'll be fun. Chuck asking, can we get some commentary on the snag? That's honestly a great point. Look at all these players with all their drinks. There's so many different kinds of drinks there. I mean, I like to stick with my trusty water bottle, which, as you can see, it's been beaten up a bit. It's got some dents. It's got the handles chipped, but you know, it still holds water, just like any other water bottle. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's a five guys there. So these players, they competed earlier today, and then in between rounds they gotta get their lunch. You know, they gotta get their energy and their rest and before the next rounds. And it looks like Moonzs has opted not only for a can of something, I don't know what that is, maybe an energy drink, I'm not sure, but she's also got a bar there. If I had to guess, I'd say it's a Cliff Bar. I mean, it looks like a Cliff Bar to me. I don't know. Anyways, okay, so knight back, and now black finally decides to castle. Now here, I think if she rushes for f3, which is a strong move, it has a strong idea tied to it. We're looking to remove the defender of the bishop. If Moonzs rushes for this idea, she allows for the potential trade on e1. And then black can just retreat their knight, no problem. So Moonzs could set a trap here. If she moves the knight off of the e1 square where the bishop can take it, she could be posing a major problem for black, because black has what I would consider piece dependency, where black's position depends on a defender of this bishop. So it's very interesting. f3 is a very direct threat. Knight to d3 is the sneaky threat. This is the actual problem, is that the threat is f3, and that was created when she moved her knight back. So the opponent probably is aware. Castling is a very solid move by the opponent, just recognizing that if Moonzs goes for this knight move, then you really do have to deal with this problem. And this problem can be dealt by just simply removing the bishop, going backwards. And it's possible that black can then play something like b6, just locking that bishop in. And there's no b pawn for white, so there's really no way to kick that bishop out. And also b6 helps open the queen back, because right now the queen is just playing a babysitter role, defending the b pawn. And the queen otherwise doesn't have many good squares. And we see this move exactly from Moonzs. Knight d3. This is a very strong move, a very strong threat. She makes her move, and now she takes a sip, and she waits to see, is this the opportunity for her opponent to make a blunder? We'll find out. We'll see what happens here. What's up, Speed Chess? Good to see you. Shout out to Speed Chess. Chess streamer from Turkey. For all my Turkish fans out there, we were watching a match. Okay, this is a potential mistake from black. Black just keeping with their speed. Queen takes on a3. And now I'm wondering if f3 could bring some potential damage to black's material. So if we just look at this line here, attacking the knight, what could we see? If the knight goes back, for example, we have this really nice fork, rook to b3, and we'd be getting a piece back. Now, we are still down 3 whole pawns. So that would still be an advantage for black, but she could be clawing back the material. So let's see if she goes for f3. Now, f3, obviously, the knight doesn't have to go back. There are other ideas here. So I'm wondering if, like, knight here is a move, for example. And then we take here. And then yeah, I don't know. It's not so clear. f3, it's seemingly a strong move. We're setting up some tactics. And so black has to kind of tread the line with caution. But I think f3, it's creating some strong threats, right? Obviously looking to take the knight. Queen takes on a3, obviously allows rook takes b7 with the tempo. Maybe she even just directly starts with rook b3, and then you can play f3, right? Rook b3 first. Queen goes Lord knows where. Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, she takes on b7. So no f3 and no rook b3. She takes on b7, and this is still a very strong move because it comes with a tempo against the hanging knight now on d7. So I like this move. Now the knight could try to trap the rook, but we still have these ideas of f3. Wow. Okay. Opponent took their sweet time pressing the clock there. They played bishop to d2. Now, this move I don't think is very good. Maybe it is. Maybe it is because the knight is hanging here. But this knight is hanging. The rook is hanging. The knight's hanging. There's a lot of stuff hanging in this position, isn't there? So maybe there's rook b3, rook a1, and then f3 again. These are strong ideas. So yeah, I think the opponent is potentially giving an opportunity to Moonzs to create some tactics here. But it is a tricky position, right? Because there's just a lot going on. Right now, she needs to see a couple of things. First off, this move not only attacks the rook, but also is a discovery against the knight and blocks our queen's defense of the knight. So sometimes these sort of moves can be very tricky when our knight was previously defended. And this is a very multi-purpose move, right? It's not only attacking our rook directly, which I think is the most obvious thing that you could notice, but it's also attacking our knight indirectly with both a discovery and a blocking of our queen's prior defense to the knight. And the knight obviously was x-rayed by the queen earlier, but it wasn't attacked directly, which could be another factor that could lead to a potential blunder. Now, with all of this being said, I think rook b3 is a great move that we could see from Moonzs. It just immediately attacks a higher priority piece in the queen, but also defends our knight that was hanging. So there's actually an interesting idea. Black could maybe give up their queen for both rooks. If we play rook to b3, there's potentially bishop takes c1, rook takes and bishop takes. That could be interesting. But we'll see if Moonzs plays rook b3. Rook b3 is the best move, by the way, right now. So we are abandoning the rook on the 7th. I think that it's very tempting to want to take the knight. However, I think that black just takes the knight back, and we're not actually winning material. We're just simply trading. And trading is not good because we are down a lot already. So, okay, she's just simply moved her rook over to b1. She's doubled. And now the problem is she's losing her knight. So she loses her knight. Now, the good thing, though, is that she still has some compensation. First and foremost, directly, is that black's other knight is hanging. So there's 1-for-1 there. That's one thing. The second thing is that, yeah, opponent's going to take this knight. I was going to say the bishop becomes pinned again. And we still have these ideas of f3. Now, f3 doesn't work anymore as well as it did for a few reasons. First off is that when the queen takes the knight, which they did, the bishop is defended again. But secondly is that the f-pawn has an important role of actually defending e3. So if the f-pawn pushes, black can actually now take the e-pawn with check, which is actually very annoying because if we take and then they take again with check, well, we're either getting mated on f2 or the king will go in the corner and, I mean, we're losing our queen to this knight fork. So that could be potentially brutal if we do now play f3, which can be even more devastating considering f3 was a strong idea that we had previously, and now it's actually going to be a blunder. So, yeah, it's really rough. So chess can be hard in that a good move now is a bad move later. And you really have to be able to distinguish in the moment for each and every single move. So things can change drastically on the chessboard, and you have to be very aware of everything that's happening all at the same time. Not only aware of your potential tactics and opportunities, but also from your opponent. And to make matters all worse, your opponent could look like this guy. Just barely on the edge of the chair. His feet probably aren't even touching the floor. No, I mean, props to him though. I mean, he's probably got a really strong coach, and he's put in a lot of effort. And he lost his first round, but he's got some tournament experience. I mean, he's already got a rating. He's higher rated than Moonzs. So, kid's gonna be a potential future star. I mean, he's already a problem to be dealt with. And he's gonna be a problem for many more players in the future. So, that's another cool thing, is that these kids could be like future prodigies, and you get to say that you played against like a GM when they were a kid or something. Also, I want to give this moment to shout out the Charlotte Chess Center for putting on this event and just being such a cool place, putting on opportunities for not only chess competitions and for players to come together and to compete, but also being a good environment for streamers such as Moonzs and the Chess Sharks and Jay Dizzy, who's visiting, and Dina Belankaya, of course. And, of course, I have to give a shout out to, of course, Danya, who was a big part of the community there. And I believe that there's a fundraiser going on currently that the Charlotte Chess Center has put on, as they're doing a what do I want to call it? It's not a. They're doing, like, I think the Naroditsky Foundation, something like this, like a scholarship for students, which is really cool. And they're going to be doing a Rapid and Blitz tournament over the board in Danya's honor. So, yeah, lots of great things to say about Charlotte. I haven't been there myself, but it would be an honor to go and visit. I definitely know I would have some friends there that would welcome me. And I gotta ask why Emily isn't playing in this tournament. Or maybe she is and I missed it. I don't know. But if she is, she's not streaming it, that's for sure. Unfortunately. So maybe Emily is lurking right now. Who knows? You never know sometimes, but she's probably presumably busy. Anyways, what's up, Braining? Good to see you. Commentary's going well. Appreciate you. The kids' ELO is 835, which is over 300 ELO higher than Moonzs. Now, this is a strong tactical idea here. This move, knight to c3. This is just immediately a fork. And it gets worse than that, actually, because it looks like there's a way to pin the knight to the queen. So now Moonzs has protected her rook from the knight. However, there's a very powerful move here that Moonzs missed. She needed to play rook to b3 and allowed for the trade of queens. Because in this move, we see the kid, oh, he takes the rook, so he's forced to take it. If he takes with a knight, it's a clear blunder. And yeah, the problem is that he has this really nice move. Queen takes rook. And that's forking the king and the queen. So now Moonzs is forced to take back, the knight's going to take back, and she's going to have lost a rook in this transaction. So these are just some really nice tactics from the kid. Major props to him finding all this and maneuvering so well. So, yeah. He's finding some really strong moves here. He's trading queens. He's won another piece. And not just any piece, it's a whole rook. So she's going to be down a rook and a knight and a couple of pawns. And yeah, it's really tough to keep playing after this, to be honest. So Moonzs is realizing this. She's giving a couple of head nods. Like, honestly, props to this kid. Like, it's like, I missed that. That was good. And sometimes you got to give credit where credit's due. And all the credit to this kid. He showed up at the board here today to play chess. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's putting on some good moves. And he's been rewarded with his good tactics. So a lot of players, they think to themselves, like, I want to get better at chess, right? I don't want to lose. I want to be able to put up a decent game against my opponent and make them work for it. And people think about different opening tactics or opening theories. And, like, I think if you look at Chessable or, you know, all these different YouTube videos, there's just a lot of opening content that people are worried about, right? Like, I think it's not that important. I think what's more important is making sure that your tactics are sharp, right? Because if you're missing that pieces are under attack, or that they're loose, or that there's a fork, or there's a pin, or stuff like that, then, like, the opening is not going to save you. And this isn't advice or commentary on Moonzs. This is just generic chess advice for any viewer that's listening. I think honing in on what to improve on is a great way to make sure that you're not wasting your time when you're trying to study and practice and improve. And I think tactics is a huge part of improvement. And that's why when I gave my lesson to Jesse on Tuesday, we went over puzzles, because it helps your calculation and your vision, which is super important. And I like I was saying, I think it's more important than memorizing any sort of opening. Because you could play a bad opening and still get out okay, or maybe even down a pawn or what have you. But it's very difficult to recover from losing, a whole piece or what have you. And the problem wasn't her opening at all. She got castled, right? She connected her rooks. Her problem came from the middle game. Once there were pieces starting to get attacked. And I think Asmoata put it quite well during her commentary, is that this is honestly a good thing to know when you're starting out with your chess improvement journey, is like, where am I going wrong? And if you're just missing tactics, or you're just dropping pieces, that is something that is easier to fix than, let's say, like not knowing how to develop your pieces and get out of the opening. So, okay, rook to b7 has been played. Now, normally on the open file, black would want to contest this and try to trade rooks. But there is actually some coordination with the bishop here, which is preventing black from taking the b file. So Moonzs has full control over the b file, just immediately throwing a punch against the knight, and the knight's going to return to c3. So now the bishop is potentially short on squares. We could see this move rook to b2, which hits the bishop. And the bishop's actually extremely close to being trapped. If we go, for example, bishop e1, there's this move king f1. And so the bishop is forced to be surrendered at that stage. Now, if we play rook b2 and then our opponent plays bishop to c1, there's this fork now, actually, rook c2. So I'm actually excited to see a potential trap here. Now, the problem is the knight on c3 is actually within checking distance of our king. So part of the reason why the bishop has so few squares is because this knight is blocking the bishop's escape. Now, after rook to b2 and black goes for this fork, we're forced to take back, or we just let the knight trade our bishops, and black will get out of there easily. Or if we do take back, then the black bishop has options now. Probably will take the pawn and win even more material. So that's part of the struggle as well. Once you go down material, the position just becomes more difficult to work with, right? You just have fewer options at your disposal. So the more pieces your opponent has, the more opportunities, more options, the more control over the board that they have. So normally rook b2 looks like a strong move, potentially even trapping a piece. But in this position, the opponent's knight has too many options. Oh, we see a kid going through it down there. Yeah, lots of emotions at the chess tournament. There's a lot at stake on these 8x8 boards. Yeah, and so all that being said, I agree with Governor Julio, king f1, and that's exactly what Moonzs has played here. King f1, and we're renewing our threat, our threat of rook b2. So Moonzs, she's a fighter, she's not giving up, and she sees these tactics. She saw the knight potential check, which could be a really useful resource for black to get out of a sort of sticky situation with these two minor pieces deep in white's camp. So if black does something passive, then rook b2 is a very strong move here. So we'll see. She's not giving up. She could come back. Now, knight b5 is very annoying because it just cuts our rook off on the b file. And it also just gives space for the bishop to come back. So black is firmly in the driver's seat here, very confidently winning. Of course, they still have to close out the game. And there's still opportunities for white to win some material. But black has too many ways to win to really throw. There'd have to be multiple series of catastrophic mistakes before black gets into some serious trouble. So we had mentioned the bishop controlling b8. This would be one really easy mistake to make, just throwing away a rook. But even throwing away a rook, and the opponent is still up a lot of material. So, yeah. The opponent would have to give up the rook and take back, and that'd be a back rank mate, actually. We could see mate in 3 from white if black just makes some bad moves, I guess. Okay, we see Moonzs signaling to her opponent her last move she made, king f1. Strong move, suggestion here from the chat as well. Just getting out of any knight checks. No back rank issues anymore, I guess. Knowing that black can't get the... I mean, technically there's no luft for the king, but I think Moonzs is ready to cause some problems over here. So rook b2, it's a clear and obvious threat. So black might bring their knight back to b5. Very nice defensive move here. Uncle Jesse yelling that she loves puzzles. That's not what I heard last I checked. I could check the VOD, actually. Maybe. Also, shout out to Paladin Archer. Good to see Paladin. Always tuning in, being supportive, just being there. Hope Paladin's doing well. Uncle Jesse has changed since Tuesday. That's quick. You know, some people say things never change. But Jessie, she can change just like that. She's like a chameleon. If she was a lizard, you know, one day she hates puzzles and the next she loves them. So it's, who knows? Anyways. But yeah, puzzles I think are very helpful, very important. Also, if you're trying to improve and you've never played in a tournament before, or maybe you've had very limited tournament experience, and you play a game and you're getting just absolutely crushed and you're losing, it's important to remember that it's all part of the learning experience, right? And if you lose a piece and you resign immediately, then you're robbing yourself of more learning opportunities, because even if Moonzs goes on to lose this game, she could still go on to win some pieces back or some pawns back and still play some tactics. And I think that playing on is definitely a very important part of this learning process, right? And all of that being said, this game is still not over. There's still opportunities for black to go wrong. I just pointed out a potential back rank mate for black. I mean, black hasn't created luft yet for their king. So we could be 10 moves down the line, and black has brought both rooks out. Moonzs could lose all of her pawns and her bishop, and yet still find a back rank mate. you never know. These are the problems that chess players have to deal with. I mean, I myself have been back ranked mated. I was actually playing more Bug House yesterday, and I got checkmated by someone lower than 1,000 elo because I forgot that they had a queen in their hand. So it might as well have been. It was like I pushed my H pawn, H2 to H3, and then they just dropped a queen on H2, and that was the game. It was game over. So players make mistakes all the time. In fact, it's very difficult not to make a mistake, even if you're one of the top players in the world. They're not perfect. Okay, we see F3. We see a threat for the knight. The knight has to go. Ooh, and he slams it down with authority. Back to F6. And now the bishop is potentially hanging. We could see Moonzs bring her king in with a tempo, or maybe bring her rook down. Yeah, rook c7 goes after the c pawn, but black can bring a rook to the c file as well. So we'll see what Moonzs comes up with here. Maybe just king on over, king e2. An annoying move from black could be knight to h5, because our bishop is doing a very important job of securing our rook on the 7th and on the b file. So if the bishop gets kicked or traded, then black could have a much easier path to simplifying, removing the remaining pieces, right? So black, they have a very cut forward path for their pieces. They want to simplify. Black has done the hard work of winning material, right? Getting the tactics to work out. Now they need to eliminate the remaining resistance that Moonzs has, and it's these last two pieces that she has, the rook and the bishop. All right, so now Moonzs, with the white pieces, she's trying to claw her way back and make her opponent mess up and make a mistake. And she's doing exactly just that by attacking the pieces. She's played f3, kicking the knight out. She's played now rook back to b2, attacking the bishop. And the bishop comes all the way home to a5. Really, there were a couple mistakes that the bishop could have made. For example, going to c3, and Moonzs gets a skewer, or going to c1. And these are very tempting moves because they both attack the rook, but they both allow for this fork or skewer, right? Lining the rook up with both the bishop and the pawn on the c file. So opponent plays a very strong move here, rook to a5. Now, there's no real tactics for Moonzs. If she wants to attack the c pawn, then there's opportunity for black to defend that pawn. So opponent is doing a very good job here of minimizing Moonzs' counterplay. And we see exactly that. Rook to c2. Moonzs is going after the c pawn, and now black most certainly will defend that c pawn. But they could also do something simple like knight to h5. Yeah, and that's exactly what we see here. Now, knight h5, this allows for a move like bishop d6, hitting the rook, maybe even bishop to e5, potentially trapping the knight with g4. But she certainly shouldn't take the pawn. It might be tempting because she wins the pawn and just allows the knight to take, and then she takes. But I think that's going to be too simple of a position. Even just bringing the bishop back, allowing this knight trade, it's not very good, because even if she wins the pawn and loses the bishop and she gains that pawn, her pawn structure wouldn't be great, and the opponent's rooks will just swarm to the open files, and it would be impossible for her to keep her rook on the board, or to contest any valuable squares on the board, at least. So she just has to save her bishop for now. And like, the unfortunate reality is black just has a way now to force everything off the board, really. There's no like way that Moonzs could save it. She just has to play the best moves, and just hope for the best. So of course black still has to convert. But it looks like they're doing a good job. And there's a lot of room for error for black as well, which is really nice. How is Moon only 500? Well, it's her over the board rating, and she probably doesn't have that much experience, but I mean, I could also be wrong. I'm not sure how much she's played, so maybe I shouldn't really be commenting on that. But one thing I do know for sure is that Moonzs is still improving and growing as a chess player. And also, I think that it's really admirable that she's traveled to compete in a tournament, and not only that, but to be streaming it as well is really cool. So here she just grabs a pawn, which, I mean, she's winning material, which is good. The downside, though, is that black now can take her bishop, which is her second to last piece. She'll be down to just one rook against a world of black's pieces. Yeah, we do see this trade fairly quickly. Her best move, she's probably going to take back. There's also a world where maybe she attacks the bishop on a5, but it's pretty unlikely. So for example, bishop to a6, or sorry, rook to a6 is a move. Rook to c5 would be a blunder, because then black has a counterattack, and it's not bishop to b4, because that again allows the rook to move, attacking the bishop. It would be bishop to b6, which attacks the rook and finds defense from the pawn on the a file. So rook a6 or taking the knight, these are like legitimately the only viable moves here. So she technically has an option. Rook a6 is also, again, technically probably the better move, because we don't really want to separate our pawns and have doubled pawns. That being said, rook a6 is probably the worst move, because bishop to b6, we're forced to take the knight, and then we're just going to lose the d pawn. So she just takes back immediately, which is the most reasonable, sensible move. And now the opponent just very quickly already plays rook f to c8, which is going to force the rook to either trade or concede the c file. So again, rook a6 now is going to be the best move here, just attacking the bishop, keeping the rook on the board, but again, it's just a matter of moves before black is able to swarm in and convert this position. So Moonzs is putting up her final defenses. But yeah, it's just really some tactical oversights at the beginning where a piece is under attack and we have to defend it. And I think Moonzs also, she made a couple of attacks against the opponent's queen, which is generally a good thing. But I think that she didn't quite see through to the end of, like, if I make an attack against a piece, I'm already anticipating where that piece is going to go. And I have to recognize that sometimes a piece can go to a better place than where it came from. So in that we're attacking a piece, we should be anticipating where that piece is going to go, and we have to be able to judge if we want it to go there or not. Because if we attack a piece and it goes to somewhere even better and it improves its position, then I probably shouldn't be attacking that piece to begin with in the first place. So there's always an element, I think, of hope chess early on where people are like, okay, well, I'm going to create a threat and I'm going to hope that my opponent misses it, or that I can, cause them to make a mistake, and I'm going to maybe win some material. But chess, unfortunately, is just more complicated than that. You have to be able to react. Okay, so we have a check here. Rook a6 is played, so she finds the best move, declining the rook trade, and causing another problem, attacking the bishop. We see rook c1 ignores that for the time being and delivers a check. Now she has two moves here. She finds one, king e2. And now there's a couple more checks that black could throw in here. There's one with the rook on e1, and there's one with the rook on c2. Opponent plays rook e1 check. I also think he's whispering check, which is very cute. Some people might not like that necessarily, but some people would appreciate it. I mean, who among us doesn't like being told that they're in check? Some of us probably wouldn't like it, but okay, king f2 is played. And now there's a real threat, actually. The bishop is not only hanging, but the bishop is also depending, or the rook really is dependent on the bishop. And that if the bishop leaves this diagonal, then the rook will fall. We have this move, rook a1, and this is setting up a sneaky discovery here. Not only defending the bishop, but also threatening bishop to e1 check. So it's very important here that Moonzs finds two ideas. One, she needs to see that the king is about to get checked. Okay, she might have played too quickly here. She needed to either move the rook off the a file or move the king off of a dark square. She's played g4. She might resign here. Yeah, she's like, dang, this kid is serious business. Bishop to e1 check is a discovery. The rook is now hanging. And yeah, I mean, this kid's having a good time. He's just mopping up the rest of the pieces off the board. So I think Moonzs just has to go back to the drawing board here. And oh, she's made an illegal move. I think the kid paused the clock and raised his hand. But yeah, she's still in check there. She has to leave the diagonal. Okay, so she's adjusted her move. I think the kid's just gonna bring over the arbiter to play it by the rules here, by the book. So technically they might add time to his clock. I'm not sure. I think it might vary by tournament or format. But they might just make her make a new move and call it a day. I don't think any penalty will adjust any of the outcomes. So he might be adjusting it here. Let's see. We might get a better look at the clock times. Is that 35 minutes or an, I don't know. Shout out to the organizers, the arbiters, the chess referees, making sure that the laws of the game are adhered to. But yes, now the opponent will rightfully take our rook, which is unfortunately hanging. And all of this being said, we might have stalemate. We might go for this stalemate. There's always a chance, you guys. That being said, her king might already be kind of short on square. She just has to get rid of these pawn pushes, put the king here, and hope that the rook goes here, and you're actually stalemated. But yeah, she does have a couple of pawn pushes to get rid of first, so we'll see. She might call it there. I think it's tough to finish these games out. Like, I don't think anyone would blame Moonzs for resigning. I think a lot of times people also, when they play an illegal move, they're really feeling down, and they're like, yeah, I'm really out of it right now. So there's nothing wrong with that, I'd say. But I love to advocate for never resigning. So if she wants to try and see if her opponent will stalemate her, that's definitely very possible. And also, I mean, I think it's fun to see how the game closes out, because like I had mentioned earlier, even in a completely lost position, there are things to be learned from, right? Shout out to Faye tuning in. Good to see you, Faye. Stalemate would be a huge W for sure. Okay, she's pushed her H pawn. She's pushing all the pawns up. I think it's easier to just push these, because she could have brought the king to H3, which would block her own pawn. So now moving that H pawn also gives her king another square to go to, although it can't go there now because there's a rook now on A2. So the opponent just needs to bring the other rook into the game, and there should be a mating net set up pretty quickly. So now she's deciding if she wants to go down or up. She could go down with a tempo against the bishop, but at the same time going down cuts her king off from the rest of the board. So she decides to go up, and I think this makes a lot of sense because she's going to be able to push these pawns and find potentially more safety for her king, some shielding, and also potentially some stalemate tricks that we're hoping for. So she's got to get rid of these pawn moves. And that's another thing that I was mentioning of pushing the h-pawn, is that if we put the king in front of the h-pawn, that already cuts off all the pawn's moves on the h-file. But now that we have the pawn in front of our king, there's 3 pawns that have moves. So when you're trying to set up a stalemate trick, just get rid of your pawns. Just try to push them, just exhaust all their moves until they can't move anymore. So I would start with like f5 here, I think, or g5. G5 is an idea also, that it gives your king some more space. You can go g5 and put the king like on h5. I mean, you're asking to get mated, but you're also just trying to get rid of your pawn moves and trying to create a stalemate trap, which can be very fun. I mean, there's the art of the stalemate, really, which I feel like should be a book written by Eric Rosen, who notoriously has the infamous Rosen trap, where you sacrifice a piece, put the king on the corner where he gets stalemated. I've been fortunate enough to pull that off a couple times myself. Shout out to Eric, who probably has a whole montage video of all the times he's done it. But we do see g5 on the board. And now black will likely just double the rooks and just threaten to check this king to the edge and to the end. You got stalemated once by a 2000 rated. That's very nice. Okay, rook down to c3 instead, just attacking this c pawn. So now probably king g4 she could play. And that's exactly what she's played. And now opponent could check us again. That'll pry the king away from the defense of the f-pawn. But yeah, I mean, there's a world where opponent stalemates. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Opponent is also playing very quickly, which could be a deadly mistake if they play too fast. So here now there's two moves. I would go to h5. Go on up the board because we're blocking the well, I don't know. We're probably just gonna get made. But if you play on, you might as well, right? So she's unfortunately in check. I would love, like, any move that you can spare, just push a pawn. Try to get rid of the pawns. Here she's forced to move her king is the problem. So every king move she makes, that's another move that she's not getting rid of her pawn moves. So as long as her pawns can move, she's not going to get stalemated is the problem. And either way, where she moves her king, it's actually a forced mate in 3. But we'll see if the opponent is actually that precise. It's probably unlikely. I mean, mate in 3 is not the simplest or the easiest. Can I put the clock on the other side of the board? I personally can't, but I understand why you would want them to, so that we can also see the clock. A lot of people don't know that there's actually a rule that the player with the black pieces gets to decide which side of the board the clock goes on. That's because white goes first, which is an inherent advantage for white. So black gets to at least say which side the clock goes on. So a lot of times, just players with their right hand as their dominant hand will just leave the clock on the right hand side of the board, and that's what we're seeing right now. And you can actually see on all the boards at this table, the clocks are on the right hand side from black's perspective. So that's sort of why. But every now and then you'll play against someone who's left-handed, who has the black pieces, and then both players can benefit and have the clock on their dominant side. And the only reason why which side matters is because you're not allowed to hit the clock with a different hand that you move the piece with. So you have to move, you have to hit the clock with the hand that you move the piece with. Okay, so we see g6. This is going to force king to h6. And now she's down to 2 pawn moves and 0 king moves. Okay, but this is going to be the end of the game. Rook to h2. And unfortunately, this h-pawn cannot be defended. Even if it's pushed, the g-pawn defends that. Rook takes is going to be mate next. So, yeah, this is just going to be game over. Unless the opponent absolutely throws, which is still possible. I mean, they could imagine push and pawn takes. Or, yeah, I would play f5 here. or like h. It doesn't matter. She's got 2 legal moves. It's an f pawn or h pawn. I guess h pawn because there's a chance they take with their pawn, which would be absolutely hilarious. But yeah, if you push your f pawn, your hope is that you distract them to take the f pawn. But I think with this last move, rook h2, they seem pretty confident. So Just play h5, and they might forget that it's attacked twice. Otherwise, there's not much else to think about. Hello, Ultra. I am not Chess Bra, if you think that's me. So, want to make that clear and apologize to anyone that might let their hopes up. Unless streamer privilege. Yeah, even then, like, with streamer privilege, I would just swap sides of the players and then move the clock over just so that black still has their choice. Haven't you seen me on that stream? I don't think I've ever been on the Chess Bra channel. Okay, she's given the thumbs up. And there we see the official handshake, resignation there. Yeah, I would say at that point just push the h-pawn and let them play the checkmate. But anyways, yes, a very solid game here from our young opponent, who is 300 elo plus higher. And yeah, Moonzs starts the tournament 0 for 2, but she, you know, is on her first day of the tournament. She traveled all the way to get there, and she still has plenty of chess left in this weekend. So Saturday and Sunday, she will be back tomorrow morning. And I will be back as well tomorrow around the same time, the same starting time. It's 4 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, maybe we'll have a player interview, or maybe not. I guess we'll find out. Is this her first tournament? I actually don't think so. You don't have to be sorry, Ultra. I just want to make sure that you don't mistake me for, I don't know. I want to make sure that I'm not claiming to be anyone that I'm not. But yeah, thank you all for being here and for watching and for tuning in and being supportive. Let's see if we will have a player interview. What's up, Azur? Good to see you. Okay, we will be having a player interview, so please stick around. And if you guys have any questions for Moonzs, let us know. And yeah, we'll let Moonzs get situated. She's got to obviously take her camera and take all of her stuff and find a nice quiet place for this interview so that she's not distracting any of the players. We'll ask her Estevan if it's her first tournament. Anyways, hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving for all of my American friends, and for all my international friends, hope you're having a great week. Let me see if I will have a good scene for an interview potentially. We'll see. We'll figure it out. And yeah, if anyone is following this tournament, there's a couple other streamers competing. There's Chess Sharks, there's Jay Dizzy, and I'll be sure to rate at least one of them when we're done with this stream here. So yeah, we'll go check out how our other streamers are doing and show them some love and support. Ah, Dina's also live. Great. Dina, obviously, very strong player, very well known streamer and commentator and educator from the Charlotte Chess Center. So Moonzs is still on the move, looking for a quiet place. They could have like a designated lounge for the streamers, maybe. Really, Dina's doing worse against a 12-year-old? That's surprising. But I know Dina's a fighter, and she's gonna bring it back. But I mean, kids these days are tough, as we've seen.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Oh my God, that was so bad. The second my light squared bishop was gone, I was like, yep, this is over.
It happens.
Oh. And
It's
my opponent was so challenging because he kept getting up and then in like obviously out of the camera because he knew I was streaming, he kept like yawning and like staring at me because I was thinking and he was like playing so fast. Oh, that was a terrible game.
That's okay. You still had a lot of fans tuning in and cheering for
Oh,
you, and
hi
we're
everybody.
actually getting a huge raid from Phoebe.
Oh,
265 people.
Phoebe.
You guys are tuning
Oh
in
my
for the
God.
player interview for Moonzs. So shout out to
Hello
Moonzs.
everyone.
She's competing at the North Carolina Open at the Charlotte Chess Center. There's a lot of other streamers playing right now. And is this your first time playing in Charlotte, Moons?
Yes, it's my first time in Charlotte for sure, and it's my first time playing like a big tournament and like a proper classical one as well.
Okay, so that's very exciting, and I'm sure that's your first time
Yeah.
meeting a lot of these other streamers there as well, right?
Yeah, it's been really cool.
Screws is asking if you've met Min Lee, which
No.
yeah, I wouldn't I don't even know if he's there. Is he there,
Yeah, I
Screws?
don't. It's so
Um,
loud everywhere.
PMD is asking if you um had the end of the your first round result because I think the
I
feed
have
died.
yeah, the feed died because YouTube is dumb.
Mm.
I have the PGN. I can post it in Discord because I'm pretty sure PMD's in Discord. I can post the or like my score sheet, and then once I have the PGN, I can post it. But I flagged.
Ah, that's rough.
Yeah, but I'm honestly not mad that I flagged because I never use enough, like I never use a lot of time. So like I'm happy that I was actually like locked in and focused. It was lost, like
Yeah.
I did a decent job, I think. I don't know, like well, I'm a noob, so like my when I think I'm winning, I'm actually losing. So I'm not really good at judging, but there was definitely quite a few moments where I was not doing great and I recovered and like she had to like reorganize all the pieces because I was threatening them. Um, but like I think when I flagged, she had like mate in two, maybe three, depending on a few things. But I made a mistake. She pushed a pawn to h7, and I moved over to f8, and I should have just went to h8, and that would have been great. And then I lost my queen because I moved the king, and I didn't
Mm,
think, oh, I could just go behind the pawn and stop it.
yeah.
Yep, I
That
realized that after. I was like, why am I an idiot?
that makes sense. No, you're definitely not an idiot, and I did want to commend you for not only competing and playing, but also you traveled. How long was the flight to get there?
It's honestly, it was only 2 hours, but we left at 5 a.m.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
terrible.
So, I
That was
mean,
terrible.
it's tough to have to travel to compete, and you're also
Hmm.
streaming and providing the camera feed and having to
Yeah,
coordinate with the commentators. So there's a lot of things going on
a lot of
behind
moving
the
parts.
scenes. We have a question from the chat.
Yeah,
Is she finding the playing hall atmosphere with hundreds of people and silence overwhelming compared to playing online while streaming, or is she managing her nerves okay despite the losses?
I think. like where I am, and I think because I'm streaming, like I'm on a specific board. So where I am, it's like a kind of a smaller room. It's not like the giant room that like Tony's in right now. Um, but it's definitely a lot. Like there's people everywhere. Like even if you like leave the room, there's like a mob of people like just hanging out. Um, so it's a lot, but it's fun. Like, and I like that it's really quiet because I've played a couple over the board tournaments before, and it's just chaos. I don't know why, but it's just always chaos. So it's kind of nice that it's really quiet because it's I can just focus and I'm not being ADHD distracted all the time. But so far I've liked it. It's just obviously like a lot slower. Um, so I need to get better, I think, at managing my time because I'll spend way too much time on moves that really don't matter.
Yeah.
Like it's just do the obvious thing. Don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, it's tough getting that adjustment. I think playing online versus over the board, there's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
first and foremost, visualization is very different compared
Yes.
to a two-dimensional board.
hmm
So it's a lot easier to miss things if you're used to playing online. But
Yeah.
then secondly, the atmosphere is totally different, as you mentioned, and even it varies between venues. So I know the Charlotte
hmm
Chess Center is definitely a world-class place to play chess, and they take things pretty professionally and seriously there.
Yeah.
But as you had mentioned, it's nice to just sort of have that silence and that atmosphere that
Yeah.
you can really
So
lock
nice.
in and
Yeah.
focus. So
And I
yeah,
definitely like playing over the board more than online, I think, because I don't know, I feel like I focus better than when I'm online.
oh yeah, and streaming too. It's totally different.
Yeah,
Like
streaming is,
streaming while you're
yeah.
playing, it's not even like you're not even trying to
You're
play
you're
that
you're thinking,
seriously.
but you're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like focusing on entertaining the chat and hanging out, especially when you have really cool people in the chat like Screws
Yeah.
and PMD and Phoebe
PMD.
and Cosmo and
Everybody.
Deshgen
Yeah.
and Pizza Racer
Not
and
everybody.
we've got a lot of cool people obviously that we want to make sure that we can read their comments at the same time.
Yes.
But yeah, as far as the actual competing, another big difference from playing online is that when you're playing over the board, you have to hit your own clock and you have to not make
Yeah.
illegal moves. And the online
Yep.
version will help you like not do that.
Yeah.
But
100%.
someone wanted me to remind you, did you know that you're not allowed to hit the clock with a different hand?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I'm so used to I'm so used to using the hand that's close to the clock,
Mm-hmm.
but I kept getting distracted by my Red Bull because I had it on the wrong I
Mm.
was trying to not block
Yes.
the thing, but I was like, "Oh, my Red Bull's over here." And my brain was like, "Oh, the clock's over here." But then I'd
Yeah.
move and I was like, "Oh, that's my Red Bull." I don't know why because it obviously doesn't look the same, but it my brain was very lost there for a minute.
No, it's
Because
fine.
last game I did it so well, but this game I was like, and I
Yeah.
would do it and I'm like, "Oh crap, Harley, stop that."
Well, because you also switched colors, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so
was
the
same board as black last time.
yeah, so the clock will be on the different side of the board depending on what color you have. If you have the black pieces, you can choose which side of the clock it goes on, or sorry,
Oh,
which
I
side of
didn't
the
know
board.
that.
Yeah. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, usually people with black will just choose the right hand side because they're right-handed. But I want to give a
Mm-hmm.
huge thank you to Screws for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. So thank you
Hell
very
yeah.
much. Um, and yeah, you have a lot of fans tuning in Moons, and we have more rounds obviously later this weekend. Is there anything you'd like to
Yeah.
say to your fans?
Thank you guys for watching. Like, I appreciate it so much. Like, this is also my first time streaming games over the board, so this is so exciting. But thank you guys for hanging out and watching me play bad chess. I appreciate it. I'm
Well,
sure everyone was like, what is she doing?
no, no, no.
Don't make the bad move, and I make
It's
the bad move.
it's your first time streaming OTB, your
Yeah.
tournament, and hopefully not your last. And we will be
No.
having more rounds tomorrow. So if people want to
Yep.
watch your game played out and hopefully see you
Yeah.
get a win, we can all do that
Hopefully.
tomorrow, starting at what
Yes.
time?
It's 11 for the first round and then 4 for the second round.
That's 11 a.m. Eastern
Eastern.
time
Yeah, Eastern.
tomorrow. And I will be back, Screws. I will be back tomorrow in the same round, the evening round. So
Yay.
at 4 p.m. Eastern, expect
Heck
to
yeah.
have me back, and I'm looking forward to it. So right now,
Yay.
you've played 2 games. I think you've lost
Yeah,
both,
that was
but
also crazy. I've never played 2 classical games in one day either, so I definitely feel like my brain was only half working the second game.
yeah. So there's a lot of firsts going on right now, and
Yeah,
hopefully
so many.
overall it's a great learning experience, and you're having a lot of fun. Do
Absolutely.
you have any
Very
plans later
fun.
tonight with the other streamers?
I think we're gonna get dinner and then go from there. I'm not exactly sure who's all coming. I know we're gonna invite, I think Jay's gonna invite Dina. So we'll see what happens. Probably a little bit of chaos. That's what we're best at. I know Kaden and Tony are gonna come as well. So it'll be fun.
Very exciting,
Some dinner,
yes.
maybe a couple drinks, you know? Who
Ooh,
knows?
yeah. Relax and enjoy yourself while you're there.
Yeah, you have to. Gotta
Yeah.
have a little adventure. Plus chess, of course.
And yeah, I know that you were
Yeah.
at TwitchCon and playing, so you're really
Oh
meeting
yeah,
all
that
the
was fun.
streamers.
I know, it's like that's like one thing I love so much about starting streaming is I've met so many awesome people and I'm like so thankful. It has been the best few months, like genuinely.
Yeah, and the community is super supportive and super kind and
Best.
awesome.
Like
So,
so great.
yeah,
So amazing. Everyone in chat, you're amazing.
awesome. Well, you're also amazing, and everyone
Oh,
loves
thank
you
you.
and appreciates you for sharing. Even if the games are rough and it's tough, hopefully you're still enjoying it and learning and having
Always.
fun. And I think
Yeah.
that's what matters most.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
All
So
right.
fun.
I
Well,
think that's it for me.
yeah.
Um,
Thank you so much as well for commentary. You are absolutely the best. Thank
Thank
you, thank
you.
you, thank you.
Well,
I
thank you
appreciate
for
it
the
so much.
opportunity and reaching out and
Of
asking me.
course.
It's really an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, you're so nice.
So
An
I'm
honor
looking
to
forward
commentate
to.
my terrible chest, but I appreciate it a
No, it's
lot.
fun, and I think I still owe you some lessons, so it'll be good to
Yes, we have
review
to
these
plan that. We
games.
have to. Oh, yes, absolutely. We should plan that now
Yeah.
that things have kind of calmed down a bit. No more travel.
Maybe I can show the people this game actually before we head out, because we did have a lot of raiders tuning in, if you don't mind. I don't know
Of
if
course not. I'm
maybe you
chilling. I
could
found a
even pull
reasonably
up.
quiet place.
Um,
Oh yeah, I probably could. Hang on, let me put you.
yeah, also, I wasn't sure if you wanted to like turn your camera on or not, but no pressure.
Oh yeah, I can.
Okay, hold
If it
on.
works.
Hold on,
Oh
people.
my god, the lighting. The lighting is diabolical.
Can you rotate your, I don't
Yes.
know. Oh,
Does that work? It
hold
looks
on.
small for me. So. Oh crap, where's the tripod? Did I lose the tripod? Oh my god, I left the tripod. I'll go back and get it in a minute. I was like, wait a minute, I had a tripod.
You
I'll
could
go back for it. There we go.
you could give us a tour of the playing hall. No. Um,
Honestly,
I'm joking, but
maybe I probably get a video later and post it in Discord because the main one is so because we're at a hotel and the main one is like crazy cool. I posted on my Instagram story a photo of me, Jay, and Tony in it, and it's like beautiful.
that's awesome.
Ah, push the button.
Okay, well, I have the game here for those of you watching.
Here, I'll
This
just open it.
was the Queen's Gambit Declined. Have you played this before?
Yeah, I play it all the time, but then for some reason I just was like, let's do something different. I don't know why. Like I play only the Queen's Gambit for white. I've played it God knows how many times. And I have no idea why my brain was like, let's just like do some different things. Putting my bishop there, never like that's not something I do. I have literally no idea. My brain was like, let's change it up.
Well,
Let's
even
change it up a
even
little.
that was fine actually, and even after you had castled, it prefers your position, even though you're down a pawn. Because their
Possibly.
queen, after they take on b2, you just have to play rook b1, and you'll get their b pawn back.
Oh, I almost did that. I was thinking about it, but then I'm like, well, he's gonna take the pawn on A2.
Well, after you castled, you played rook e1. You could play rook f to b1.
Mm.
And also your a2 pawn is defended by your knight as well, so they couldn't take that pawn either. But
Oh, I
um,
even didn't. But
yeah,
that's what I was afraid of. I was like,
it's all good. It's complicated. After you play rook e1 and their bishop comes out, you then played rook b1, but then you forgot your knight was attacked by the queen. I think you were thinking
I
they
did.
would take with the
Yep,
bishop, but their queen would be hanging.
yep,
But yeah, they take with the queen.
And then when he
So
took it, I was like,
yeah, that's tough. So then you attack their bishop, you pin their bishop to their queen with rook c1, which is a good move. You played rook a b1, which is a good move, attacking their b pawn. And then they just had some really good tactics. You
yeah,
rerouted the knight back to e1 up to d3 to push the f pawn. And
yep.
I have the board on the stream. I'm not sure if you're able to see.
Let me see if
It
I
might
can pull
help
it up.
you. Yeah,
I'll rotate back in a second.
all good.
Oh, I'll also make sure it's muted because then we'll have double audio. I'll just open yours and then mute that. Okay, cool. Okay. Wait, what? Okay. No. Oh my god, so funny.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
we got the
we're back.
big Moonzs cam. Okay, so here's where it's really tricky. They played this bishop d2 move, which is a discovery on your knight. They left their knight hanging. Your rook is hanging. So this is
Yeah,
like super complicated. But the best move is rook b3, and you're hitting their queen, and you're also defending your knight.
I thought about that.
Yeah. So when
I thought about that.
you
Yep.
double the rooks and then you're just trading knights and then they find this fork, and again this is another time where you have to play rook b3, and you just let them take your queen, but then you take their queen and you're also skewering their bishop and their knight with the rook,
Uh,
so that could have been also an
yep.
opportunity. But
Oh, I didn't.
yeah, you
Yeah, I
played
don't
queen
know.
b3, and I think you saw that if they take the knight or the rook with the knight, then they drop their queen, but you missed that they had queen takes with the check, so that was also unfortunate.
Yep.
So
That's what I saw. I was like, okay, well, if they move, yeah,
the knight, yeah. So it's tough because they're attacking with both pieces, so it's like you have to see
yep,
the queen takes as well. So yeah, he found all the good moves in these tactical moments.
yeah,
Yeah, even here, this is really tricky. It looks really tempting to play rook b2 because it looks like you're trapping the bishop, but then they have this nice fork or this check. So king f1 was a really strong move to take away knight e2 check. But then by then their bishop is free. So I don't think you could have
mm-hmm.
done anything differently after this. So
Like and I just wanted to keep playing. This
yeah.
is like, let's just keep going. I wanted to resign so much earlier, and I was like, I'll just
Uh-huh.
play. And then at the end, I was thinking for so long, like, but I missed, because I knew that when I was pushing the pawns, I knew that he had rook takes the pawn, and then it's check, and then it's basically over from there. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll have time to push some pawns and then get my king over there and then get the pawns forward. But then I did not see the G2 check, and then I was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, I think at that point you're hoping for a stalemate. But yeah, your opponent he was really good with the tactics. Like when he played rook a1 here, you have to
I was
either
rated like 700.
he was over 800.
Or was he 800?
Yeah, he was
Maybe I looked at the wrong line.
835, I think.
Crazy.
Yeah, so he's really strong. But yeah, I think even if you lost this game, there's a lot of these really cool tactics that he had that I think are good to learn from. So whenever you see your rooks are opposite of each other, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
watching out for these checks. So it's like a discovery check against your rook, basically.
This I
Um,
was so impressed with. I wasn't even mad when
yeah,
I was not even mad. I was like, honestly, dude, good on you.
yeah, he found this. He lined that up well. So you have to either move your king to a light square, or you have to move your rook to like c6, basically, or maybe to d6, and just hope that he doesn't, get this discovery. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's
Yeah, and
even,
when I pushed up on two, I had realized, oh, I'm on a dark square. I need to move my
yeah.
king.
Yep. And I think that even a loss like this is really good to learn like these tactics. And I think that um I think I'm not sure if you had an interview with Alex after your first round.
No, because the stream was just so like
Okay.
it would only go for an hour and then cut out.
Yeah.
It was, but I fixed it. I'm happy it worked the whole time, and I warned everybody. So if anyone streams on YouTube, check your settings. It's an update. It has reminders to stop watching YouTube, and it will pause your stream
That's annoying.
every hour. Yep, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, that's another lesson learned. So you're getting valuable streaming experience on top of the chess experience. But I think Alex had something really positive to say is that if you're making these like errors in the game, that's something that's very concrete that you can work on, and that's something that's very fixable. So it's very promising.
100%.
And I think anyone that's tuning in at a different stage of their chess journey and improvement, they're all facing different sort of battles as to like where they can improve. But
Yeah.
for you, if it's like missing some of these tactics, that's something that is definitely possible to like work on, right? A lot of people, they're lost in like where they should be improved. Like they're like, I don't know, I'm stuck, right? I'm at a
Yeah.
plateau or whatever. For you, it's like very obviously it's the tactics that you need to work on. So it's like the
Yep.
visualization, and it's just this is stuff that will improve over time. So you've got
Yep.
your work cut out in front of you, but it's also just hopefully a fun and enjoyable journey that you can
Yeah.
work on.
100%. Yeah.
What's up, Zach? Good to see you. And thank you, Guitar's Life, for the positive vibes. You guys are tuning in sort of at the end here. We're interviewing Moonzs, who just finished her second round at the North Carolina Open, and she's got 2 more rounds tomorrow and 2 more on Sunday. So be sure to tune in then. We'll be back, and I'll be commentating again on her round 4 game in the afternoon tomorrow. So, Moonzs, thanks for your time. Thanks for streaming your game,
Thank you.
and I wish you the best of luck in your future rounds, and let you get some rest and enjoy your time off with the other streamers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right,
Bye, everybody.
we'll find someone to raid.
Yes. Wait, no, don't. I was gonna say I don't know if anyone's commentating Jay, but I think she's still streaming because she's still playing, but she might be done soon.
Okay,
I don't know.
we'll look at Jay. I know the Chess Sharks are also there, and also I think
Tony.
Dina.
Oh yeah, Dina's also playing. So many good options.
Yes.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Have the best rest of your days.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh
you
yeah,
again, Rick.
happy late Thanksgiving.
Oh yes, happy late Thanksgiving. I forgot yesterday was Thanksgiving, if I'm fully honest, because I was traveling.
It was a travel day, exactly. All right, I'll talk to you later, Moon. See ya. Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the one and only Moonzs. So please be sure to go show her your support. Go check her out. She's great, as you all saw. And like I said, she'll be back again tomorrow. So hopefully we'll see you guys then. If not, stick around for this raid. We've got a lot of people that are playing in this tournament as well. It's a very big tournament. I think I'm going to raid Jay. So I will send you all over there. She's getting her games commentated by Cole. So let's go support Cole as well. Let's go check out how Jay's doing. Dina's losing to a child, apparently, so that's also very interesting. I don't think Dina has a commentator, but if you guys want to go check out Dina's game and see how she's doing and if she can turn around, definitely recommend that. Not sure if Dina needs the shout out, because I'm sure all of you guys are already following her, but just in case, I will give her the shout out in case you guys want to quickly click on the link and check it out. But yeah, and thanks again, of course, to Phoebe for the raid. Really appreciate that. I hope Phoebe's stream went well. Definitely go check out Phoebe, and hope I'll see you guys all again tomorrow. Take care. Thanks, Screws. Yes, very thankful for you all, and I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.